Okay guys, this is going to be a long drawn out video. So I've been away from the YouTube space for a little while, and that's because at the end of the day I realized that although we have to be informed with like the whole gender situation and what's going on with gender roles, and what's going on with relationship dynamics, it's good that you stand for it. It's very good that you stand for the rectification of such. At the same time, it's like you have to, how should I say it, find another tunnel to harness your I guess your frustrations and your like disappointment and your I guess you could say resolve in wanting things to be different than what they are. So with that being said, I've been on the go. Okay, the hijrah is different from being a passport bro, because the hijrah, you're doing it for Allah's sake. You're not necessarily doing it for a woman. You're not doing it, although marriage is half of your deen, and it's very important. The Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam, he did love women alayhi salatu salam. He was given the strength of I want to say like one man of paradise, but he was given 40 men of paradise of strength, and the men of paradise are not of the same strength as the men on earth. You know that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam, he he had cordial relations with his wives in the same night. He would go to his wives in the same night, because that was one of the gifts that he gave. That was one of the gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam. We also know that the Prophet alayhi salatu salam, he was given the gift of basically a little bit of all the prophets rolled into one, but increased in certain areas. The Prophet alayhi salatu salam was given both branches of knowledge. He was given the knowledge of the seen world, and he was also given the knowledge of the unseen world. And he had two branches of knowledge which he was given. Many of the prophets before him were only given one branch of knowledge, be it the seen world or be it the unseen world. Suleiman alayhi salam, he had, I think, considerable influence over the jinn. When you look at Musa alayhi salam, he was more about the fundamental book knowledge, and when the unseen knowledge came to him in the form of Khidr alayhi salam, he questioned everything, and that led to Khidr alayhi salam saying, I can't really have this guy under my tutelage anymore. So while I say that, while I say these things, I say it because, again, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam, he did like women, but he never migrated for women, and he never compromised himself for women. As a matter of fact, there was one time where he wanted to divorce, where he told all of his wives that, hey, if you want to leave, you guys can leave. But they chose to stay with him. So on this journey, I realized that, you really mature as you go along on this path. My original intention was, of course, because of political dissidence, because of what the United States was doing to Palestine, what the United States was doing to Yemen, what the United States is funneling money and doing in Sudan. That was my initial reason for leaving. There have been detractors who have been trying to get me to come back. There have been those who have been saying that, oh, no way, that it's better over there than it is in the United States. There have been those people. Now, I have to be transparent with the audience. In terms of conveniences, in terms of maybe amenities, the United States is better in certain areas. But in terms of morality, in terms of just natural disposition, in terms of religious, just a religious, I want to say, just a very casual, very natural religious identity versus the made up, commercialized one in the United States when it comes to Islam, the one that wants to cater to I hate to say it, but the Anglo-Saxon audience wants to show that, oh, this religion is just so pacifist, wants to show, oh, this religion is just so tender, just so, peaceful, just so, accepting. The places I've been and the places the place I'm at has them beat by a long shot. The only place that doesn't have them beat in that is UAE. And the reason why I'm going to say UAE does not have them beat, after spending I was there from February to April. Yes, I was there from February to April. I spent 2 months in UAE. And I would say that UAE's version of Islam is nothing but a state-driven version of Islam, where the Prophet alayhi salatu salam is not the core focus, but Sheikh bin Zayed is the core focus. As a matter of fact, they mention him in the khutbah. There was actually a khutbah about obedience to leadership, and he was the topic of discussion. So when it comes to that, UAE has, I guess you could say, a kind of I want to say UAE has kind of a guess you could say a Islam in a certain way, you know, because they make it more about the state than they do actually about the religion. And let's not talk about how you can't mention Palestine, you can't mention Sudan, obviously because they're responsible for Sudan by means of the United States, and um, and you know the like thereof. But when it came to Kazakhstan, when it came to Russia, and when it comes to me being back home, right now I'm in the Sahel. I will be here probably for like maybe 5 months or so, setting up my base. I bought a house here, you know, I bought a house in an urban area. It's a city. It's a city, basically. I would I would give the location, but the problem is I have ops who are like, you know, who are just unfortunately obsessed with what I'm doing, and ironically, they're people who are it's kind of weird because like I've kind of distanced myself from the whole gender thing, but like the ops are Keisha and also Brad, you know, and also the how should I say it, the Belebe, who are, you know, so caught up in wanting to coon for Brad, you know. I don't know what to call them. I guess the typical Belebe that coons for Brad. I guess maybe his name would be like Austin or something like that. You know, let's just say Austin. So I can't give, you know, unfortunately my location away. What I can say though is that, you know, I've you know, in a relative quick amount of time, I've you know, managed to purchase a house. I've managed to buy some camels, and I've managed to buy some cattle as well, because that's just like part of being a pulo, you know, is that you just get cattle. And as a result of that, you know, this is one of the adjustments I had to really make, you know, relearning the dialect of Pulo for full day that is spoken on my ends versus what I was speaking in the States with just random people, because the Western Pulo, like Senegal region, Western Fulfulde, it has slight differences from more East Fulfulde. It's the same language, but you know, you'll notice slight differences in words and stuff like that. For example, the word tampi means tire, which is usually the Western dialect, whereas Eastern dialect, you say sumo, you say midon sumo. So there are slight differences, but you know, the good news is my family, I conversate with them, and also I take it upon myself to buy books about, you know, the Pulo, the Fulfulde dialect in which I'm at. I will say this one thing. Another reason why I'm here is because I have to, like, you have to use what you got. And the thing is, America shot itself in the foot when it decided that it was just going to sanction, when it was going to charge like 14, I think it was like 14,000 for a visa upon entrance to America for the Sahel states. So the Sahel states clapped back and said, okay, we're going to charge you to enter our territory. So me being part of a Sahelian state, you know, I had to come renew my passport. I had to come renew my nationality ID, my national identification. And so with doing that, I get to travel visa free throughout the Sahel because I have a Sahelian passport and I have a national ID. So that's another reason why I'm doing that, you know. Now, the one thing I want to say about this journey that I've been on is that, you know, Allah's going to test you if you're sincere or not. He is going to test you. You know, Allah is going to test you. He's going to test you to see if, like, you really are serious about this. And what I mean by this is that, you know, because of, like, for example, insecurity in the Sahel, because of, you know, for example, the war in Iran, the war with Iran, it basically collapsed a business deal that I was working on in UAE. Okay, it collapsed it in essence. It basically postponed it. Okay. The amenities part, you know, you will be tested. Okay, on your sincerity. You will be tested on, did you really do it for the cause you claim you did it for? And yes, there are those who are going to, like, make you try to second guess yourself. There are those that are going to tell you to go back, this, that, and the other. Okay? But you have to have, and I know this sounds crazy, you have to have a marathon mentality. You have to have it. You have to have the TMC mentality where the marathon continues. Okay? And I know this is going to sound crazy what I'm about to say, but you have to be willing to die for this. And I've told these people, like, listen, if I die today, I can say that I died contented, that I was on my shield, and that I didn't basically renege my intentions. I also want to say another thing. What's going on in America is just proof that I needed to stay away anyway. Okay? It's just proof. Because, for example, you see what's happening at the World Cup. Okay? I'll give a couple of examples of the World Cup. Number one, you have Senegal, where they came off the bus or off the plane, and you have Americans making fun of them as well. You have one with filming it, laughing and stuff like that. They came off the plane, they were searched as if they had explosives on them or something like that, or something of that sort. Number two, you had Uzbekistan, who came off the plane, and the dogs were waiting for them. Okay? The dogs were waiting, wanting to go take a sniff around or something like that. And yeah, you have that. And then number three, and I've never heard this before, but you had FIFA itself. FIFA itself, the organization, the leader of the organization of FIFA. You have them themselves asking Haiti to change their jersey because it's political. because they have, I think it's Jean-Jacques Dessalines on the side holding the flag of Haiti when they got their independence. So you have FIFA asking the jersey company who makes the jersey, hey, can you change the jersey, please? So I also want to bring another thing. I'm going to bring two more points, and then I'll end this video. And maybe a part two is in the works. I don't know yet. But the fact that, you know, visas have been denied, all types of stuff, shows that America is still very much a racist country. And if I want to step into it, I would say a fascist country, because it just really wants to prioritize, like, I guess, white pride or whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, there's nothing for you guys to be prideful about in what you're doing. You started a war with Iraq. You're assisting another group of white people in trying to eradicate brown people. You're constantly trying to bully, trying to, you know, dictate what black people do on the other side of the world. There's nothing to be like prideful about, okay, in what you're doing. That's point number one. Okay. Point number two, I will say, is that since I've been on this journey and things I've seen and the resolve of people, and I'm just going to be honest, the majority of these people are non-white people. I'm going to speak of the Kazakhs especially, and I'm going to speak of like the ethnic minorities in Russia, be it the Chechens, the Dagestanis, the Circassians, the English, and the like thereof, the Tatars, but yes, some Slavic as well. Their resolve is just, you get on with it, you know? Get on with it. Yeah, and this is the one thing that separates people in America and in the West in general from people in, I guess, what they call the global South. This is what separates them. Is that the people in the global South, they just kind of have a mentality of getting on with it. And, you know, they you know, they make do with what they got. And some of them exceed that and do other things, you know, with a certain amount of determination and a certain amount of willpower. You understand me? So, with this being said, the thing is Americans are basically content with being spoon-fed comfort. You know what I mean? They're content with that, you know, and they think other people are jealous of that. In reality, yeah, some things would be nice, you know, certain things would be nice, basically, in terms of comfort in the third world. But for the most part, the people in these places are not really jealous, you know. And contrary to belief, nobody is trying to come to America en masse, you know, contrary to belief. The only ones who are trying to come to America en masse are those those who want to live ultra secular lifestyles. Most of them, you know, most. Or they do have a good job opportunity there, or it's for studying abroad. But even talking to people from, like, for example, Kazakhstan, who have studied in America, they returned to Kazakhstan, you know. They returned after their studies. There was one woman I talked to, her sister went to America, and she is like, she would be rich in Kazakhstan, like having 2 houses and, you know, a good way of living in Kazakhstan. But, you know, she chose America, where I think she is living in maybe like a apartment or maybe a townhome or something like that. And, you know, she's paying a lot for that, you know, versus, you know, living pretty chill in Kazakhstan. And, you know, whatever makes her happy, I'm not gonna like criticize her for that. You know, everybody has their own choice to make, you know. But me, you know, I've been away from home for so long that, you know, it's almost like a culture shock again. But inshallah, you know, I'm getting used to it. I'm, you know, getting back in the program. You know, usually when I was in America, I never wore open-toe, open-toe sandals. And if I did, I wore socks. You know what I mean? But, you know, I remember when I first got here, I was wearing sneakers, and people were looking at me stupid, like, man, what is this guy doing, wearing sneakers? So, you know, I have to do what the Romans do, and I have to wear open toe sandals with the socks off. And yeah, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, my complexion is, you know, I was already dark brown, but now it's taking on like a darker brown complexion. And I can say that, like, my body wise, like I have a gaunt physique more. It's like more gaunt. I guess you can say more athletic, because I've been doing a lot of running. And there is a boxing place here that I've been going to as well. So yeah, I've been doing that too. So with that being said, I just wanted to make this video, you know, to give a reflection on, you know, because I left April of last year, you know, now it's June. And one last thing I will say too, maybe you have to have a love too for certain people that Allah sent that were inspired. For example, me, you know, me being me, like, for example, when I was in Kazakhstan, or when I was in Russia, and I'll try to end this video on this note. Forgive me for being long-winded, but sometimes I get carried away. But when I was in Kazakhstan and when I was in Russia, I always thought that I am in the place where Amir Timur, or what they call in the West Tamerlane, stepped foot at. That even in Russia, there are Sahaba buried there. Okay, so I always thought, like, hey, this is sacred ground. You know, I always had that mentality. When I got to Kazakhstan, I always said to myself, like, okay, I'm where Abdullahi Khan is. I'm where Ahmed Yasawi is. Okay. Although I only had one, in Kazakhstan. I had one opportunity to visit um, a nobleman who fought. I think his name was Batir or something like that. Batir or something. I visited him, Rahimahullah. But I always thought like, hey, I'm in sacred sacred places. But now, when I'm where I'm at now, it's like, okay, I'm in places where Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio stepped foot, El Hajj Umar Tol Al Futi stepped foot, Ahmadu Lobo stepped foot, and the like thereof. Mukhtar Al Kunti stepped foot. Okay, Sultan Aksahiru, who fought the British, stepped foot. I'm saying to myself that I'm in these sacred places, so I am going to visit them by the grace and the mercy of Allah. And that gives you the kind of like, I guess, kind of another, that's part of your why. You know what I mean? That's part of your why. Because, you realize that these people put in work. And of course, the anti-Islamic people, of course, the anti-Turkic people, of course, they're going to talk against them, but their voices don't matter, okay? You realize you're in these places, So that's another reason why you have your whys. So you realize that, okay, you're close to these places, these sacred sites. And blessings come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. But also, He acknowledges your efforts in seeking blessings by you visiting these noble people. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Forgive me for being long-winded. One thing I will say is that when you're in these places too, you're eating differently, and it affects how you look. It definitely affects how you look, how you eat, stuff like that. But you're eating good. That's the thing. You're eating well. You're eating food that you have to eat the same day, because if you keep it for another day, you may get sick because it may spoil, because it's actual food. But with that being said, I think that's all I have for now. Fula signing out. Thank you for listening. And if you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe. If it's always by choice, never by force. John